It's great to see you this Tuesday, October the 6th. I'm Lanning with VTV News Live, catching you up on current events. Let's start with some highlights of this bulletin. The Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Talks concluded on Monday after more than 5 years of intensive negotiations. Insurance for fishermen and property losses now covers a higher proportion than the previous regulations. And later, good news for people with long-term liver damage in Vietnam as doctors in Hanoi successfully treat liver cirrhosis with stem cells. We're now starting off with the 12th plenum of the Communist Party of Vietnam's 11th Central Committee, which kicked off on Monday in Hanoi. The plenum focuses on 3 issues, which are the socio-economic situations, preparations for the 12th Central Committee, and the elections of the upcoming 40th National Assembly in the term of 2016-2021.
Addressing the event, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng highlighted the need to draft the development plan for the 2016-2020 periods and the socio-economic development strategy until 2020. He also requested a comprehensive report on the state budget in the first 9 months and future economic predictions to year-end.
We should focus on assessing the stability of the macroeconomy and the quality of the growth, as well as the current investment environment, so that we can help local manufacturers. The first goal is to restructure public investment and state-owned enterprises. People's living standards and national defense should also be improved.
He also urged more efforts to stabilize the economy, especially in a period when the global economy is experiencing many fluctuations.
The biggest question for us right now is whether we have created a strong foundation for sustainable development to meet the goal of 2011-2020 period. I think we still have limitations in handling bad debts, budget deficit, corruption, and competitiveness.
The party leader also said that careful preparations for the selection of potential candidates for the election to the coming 12th Central Committee were underway. The plenum also drafted out the orientations for election of the 14th National Assembly and the People's Council at all levels in 2016-2021 period.
Now, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Talks have concluded on Monday after more than 5 years of intensive negotiations. The TPP will lower trade and investment barriers in 12 countries in the Asia-Pacific region.
We, the trade ministers of Australia, Brunei Darussalam, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, the United States, and Vietnam, are pleased to announce that we have successfully concluded the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations.
The U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman closed the press conference after the conclusions of the 5 years of negotiations. The latest ministerial meeting managed to reach agreement on the 3 key issues of car component tax, access to the U.S. and Canadian milk markets, and patent length on organic pharmaceuticals. According to the U.S. Trade Representative, Vietnam actively contributed to the talks.
We've worked very closely and very constructively with the Vietnamese team to resolve a number of issues, both bilaterally, but also to work together at the table as part of the overall group to help set high standards for the TPP agreement.
I believe that the 11 other nations appreciated Vietnam's contribution, responsibility, and our attitude towards the problems during the past 6 years.
The TPP talks involve Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, the United States, and Vietnam. Following their conclusions today, the negotiators will have to complete submissions to national parliaments for ratification. Several parliaments, including the U.S. Congress, are set to remain a major challenge for the TPP actual implementation next year.
The leaders of countries involved in Trans-Pacific Partnership or TPP negotiations have praised the successful conclusion of the talks. Now, on the White House website, U.S. President Barack Obama claimed that the TPP would open up more markets for U.S. products as well as play a part in protecting U.S. workers and businesses. The U.S. president also said that he would work with legislators in the U.S. Congress to push the ratifications of the TPP. At the press conference held in Atlanta, U.S. after the negotiations concluded, the Australian Trade and Investment Minister Andrew Robb said that the TPP would help shape the future for more agreements to come in this 21st century. Meanwhile, a Japanese economy minister, Akia Amari, said that the TPP would contribute to the establishment of an economic union in which members can trade freely with one another in various fields. Now, once Vietnam joins the Trans-Pacific Partnership, Vietnamese textile firms would no longer be liable to pay the current 20% current tax rate. However, in order to enjoy this preferential rate, the country must use raw materials from countries that are signatory to the TPP. This strict regulation is expected to bring many challenges for Vietnamese textile firms.
80% of fabric at Đức Giang textile firm use made in China or Taiwan, neither of which are TPP negotiators. For months, the company has been trying to buy raw materials within the country in order to enjoy the preferential tax rate. However, the very limited number of domestic suppliers remains a major challenge.
It would take more than 1 to 2 years for us to improve the supply base. Foreign and domestic investors will have to take a couple more years to establish a strong fabric base for exports to the EU and TPP markets.
Another textile firm, the Bắc Giang Garment Corporation, exports millions of items to the United States every year. However, it's likely that the firm will still face taxes.
Most of the time, customers will choose the supplier of raw materials, and we have to follow them.
According to the Vietnam Textile and Apparel Association, 70% of raw materials are imported from China. If domestic textile firms are able to import materials from other TPP countries, an $8 T-shirt will fall in price to $6, and this remains a big challenge for textile sector in the coming time.
Besides the TPP, Vietnam is set to implement several major free trade agreements. These agreements will open the door for Vietnamese goods, including agricultural products, to enter the global market. However, with opportunities come challenges. In the following report, we find out more about how Vietnamese farmers and businesses are preparing for a new wave of globalization.
At a recent seminar held by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the southern city of Cần Thơ, a number of problems related to trade capacity and solutions were discussed. Local farmers and authorities should clarify production priorities of each region. Meanwhile, businesses should be active in identifying market trends.
I think that improving farmers' capacity must become a regular task. We must intensify mechanization and modernization in agriculture. It's necessary to connect farmers and businesses and help farmers produce products based on real market demand.
Vietnam will soon have to implement a number of signed trade agreements while continuing to negotiate a series of so-called new generations agreements. In the next 5 years, Vietnam could have 15 effective free trade agreements with 57 partners that account for 95% of global GDP. These FTAs are expected to bring a great number of opportunities and challenges to agriculture in the Mekong Delta region.
We'll have more chances to export to markets where our products are currently limited by quotas and taxes. With the coming FTAs, we'll be able to maximize our production capacity. For now, we should be well prepared. One of our challenges is to enhance the trade capacity of localities and businesses.
Most of the coming FTAs will further boost the level of trade liberalization and competition in Vietnam. Tax reductions will lead to a huge wave of competitively priced imports. This is said to be a great danger to Vietnamese agricultural products because the country's technical barriers are still relatively low.
We need business associations with strong capacity. Small-scale business models cannot survive, so associations are a way for businesses to unite. Those associations will explore foreign markets, laws and regulations, as well as technical standards.
Competition is also a chance to enhance capacity. This is a common law that any country has to follow when they integrate into global economy. Third, good preparations and enhancing capacity are now an urgent task for farmers and businesses in the Mekong Delta and Vietnam.
Now on to other news. The Prime Minister has asked the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and Ministry of Industry and Trade to take steps to boost agro-fishery exports to Singapore. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development will host negotiations on mutual recognition agreements while working with Singapore's Animal and Plant Health Center for Agri-Food and Veterinary Affairs to further boost Vietnam's exports. The Prime Minister also asked the Ministry of Industry and Trade to carry out promotion activities in Singapore. Vietnam agro-fishery exports to Singapore have increased but are nowhere near the potential. Now, more in the import-export sector, tuna export value of Vietnam to Canada reached $1.4 million in August. The figure was up 61% compared to the same period last year, according to the Vietnam's Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers, or VASEP. However, shipments to this market this year fluctuated greatly, with drops recorded in previous months. Canada imports fresh, frozen, and dried tuna from Vietnam. VASEP also noted that tuna exports to Canada have been on the rise since the past 5 years, while shipments to other overseas markets fell. Now, the news insurance policy have been amended to provide better cover for fishermen on trawling expeditions. Insurance for people and property losses now covers a higher proportion than the previous regulations. This should add to the help fishermen receiving following the government decree number 67. Here's a report from the central province of Thừa Thiên Huế.
Nguyễn Tuấn, a fisherman in Phu Van district, has received $3,500 today in an insurance payout by the Bảo Việt Insurance Company in Thừa Thiên Huế province. The money is compensation for his son's death during his working trip at sea in August.
We have bought insurance for our fishing boat. That our son and also the captain of the boat were lost due to an accident, and we're now receiving full coverage compensation.
Despite the benefit from buying insurance, only 25% of fishing vessels having access to these preferential insurance packages after a year of the policy's implementation in Phu Hai commune. The figure for the whole province is also limited.
As of September, only 30% of fishing vessels in Thừa Thiên Huế province bought the insurance under Decree 67. For the other 70%, we're encouraging the fishermen to buy insurance so they receive compensation in any accidents they may have.
Decree 67 took effect from August 25th last year. It provides basic policies to encourage fishermen to build offshore fishing high-capacity steel hull ships. For insurance-related provisions, vessels of under 400 HP will receive a 70% subsidized premium, while the figure for vessels of over 400 CV will be 90%. With this regulation, boat owners have to pay a small amount but can fully benefit from the insurance package.
In the time to come, we will continue cooperating with insurance companies to spread the benefits from buying insurance to local fishermen. We will also promote other contents of this decree to better support them.
Besides insurance policies for fishing boats and fishermen, the province will also implement training and support programs to ensure they benefit from the new regulations outlined in Government Decree 67.
Total credit growth has increased by 10.5% compared to the same period last year. This is much higher than the 7.26% increase in the first 9 months of the same period last year. This result was announced in the National Financial Supervisory Commission's September economic report. Credit growth picked up in the beginning of this year and increased monthly to reach 12% in September, setting a 3-year record rise. Easier credit has helped the manufacturing sector recovery, contributing to the first 9 months' 6.5% GDP growth. Now, a conference reviewing 3 years of banking sector restructure was held on Monday in Hanoi. The event pointed out the key role of the State Bank of Vietnam in building a healthier environment for commercial banks. The following report has more.
The State Bank of Vietnam has eliminated 17 weak financial institutions and banks after 4 years of restructuring, according to a recent report. Through mergers, acquisitions, and nationalizations, the State Bank has helped to improve the transparency of the banking system.
The basic goals of the restructuring have been achieved. The safety of the credit system has also improved. Credit growth meets the demand of the economy, and bad debt is brought to 3%. We have consolidated the transparency of the banking system. Several banks also volunteered to merge. The State Bank has nationalized some very weak banks.
Although many weak banks have been closed, customers seem happy enough to see the sector being reformed. Before, I deposit my money at the Harbor Bank. When it was merged with SHB, I was a little worried, but I trust the commitment of bank to look after my savings. The conference also pointed out that more inspections have been carried out to handle violations in the commercial banks. The initial results of banking restructuring have contributed to improving the competitiveness of the economy. Yet more efforts are needed to ensure that bad debt handled and the bank system is reformed in the coming time.
And up next is the latest update on foreign exchange rate as of today, October the 6th. Coming up next on VTV News, good news for people with long-term liver damage in Vietnam as doctors in Hanoi successfully treat liver cirrhosis with stem cells. Tommy, Emmanuel, Kenny G, and Bon, along with other well-known international artists, to perform in Vietnam this month. Coming right up. You're back here on VTV News. Now, a new water purification technology that turns seawater into fresh water has been successfully tested in the central province of Phú Yên. The technology, developed by Techcommen Joint Stock Company, is capable of purifying about 120 liters of seawater per hour into clean, fresh water that can be drunk without boiling. Now, this technology will help significantly reduce not only the space needed for freshwater tanks on vessels, but also the money spent on water, enabling fishing vessels to stay offshore for longer. After testing this technology in Quảng Ngãi, Bình Định, Phú Yên, and Khánh Hòa, Techcommen will introduce the technology to other cities and provinces nationwide. Every year, the central province of Quảng Nam suffers from heavy rain with the associated risk of landslides and floods. Therefore, careful preparations in advance, especially in mountainous areas, are vital. The province are now working hard to institute more measures to ensure public safety.
This is a temporary house hosting 7 households in Cha Tập Commune, Nam Cha My District, Quảng Nam Province. Their homes were damaged by heavy rains during the last typhoon. There are also others in Nam Chami district that need to be evacuated.
These 7 households have been living in a low-lying area. They are at risk of being inundated when the floods came and therefore need to be relocated.
The mountainous terrain here is divided by streams and rivers. Residents, therefore, are regularly threatened by the floods. The Japanese government has helped fund the building of a water measuring cylinder. This has already proved useful.
When the flood water rises to an alarming level, the cylinder will deliver a signal to the operators. After receiving those signals, the operators can measure the water level and issue an emergency message to the residents.
Besides warnings and evacuation efforts, the local authorities have also been coordinating with related agencies to manage water reservoirs and dike management. They are now ready for the coming floods.
The first problem is how to help minimize disruption to traffic. Secondly, we have to detect which areas are facing the highest risk by landslides and erosion. We have also stockpiled food and drinking water for residents when the floods come.
Guaranteeing communications and raising public awareness also features highly on the list of priorities for the local authorities. With the lessons learned from the previous typhoon, the authorities are taking effective measures and mobilizing their staff to prepare for future storms and floods.
An anti-smoking training session took place on Monday in Nha Trang City in the southern coastal province of Khánh Hòa. Now, experts from international organizations, universities, non-government organizations, and representatives from cities and provinces across the country attended the program. Discussion at the event focused on how to enhance the awareness of the risks posed by smoking and international experience on curbing tobacco sales, as well as to develop a strategy to attract the attention of target groups of heavy smokers. According to statistics, Vietnam has about 40,000 people die of smoking-related diseases every year. This number is predicted to increase to 70,000 people in 2030. The proportion of people affected by passive smoking-related problems in Vietnam stands at around 30 million people. Now we have a good news for people with long-term liver damage in Vietnam, as doctors in Hanoi have successfully carried out stem cell treatment for liver cirrhosis. And now after 6 months, the patient's condition has gradually recovered. We have more details in the following.
54-year-old patient Mai Thanh Hai was suffering the final stage of liver cirrhosis, along with a renal impairment and type 2 diabetes. The patient was then treated with stem cell transplant. After 6 months of treatment, he's well on the road to recovery.
I feel much better now than before the transplant. His liver function before the transplant was very bad. The albumin level was very low. Now the function is recovering. It's getting better.
According to doctors, Mai Thanh Hai's stem cell treatment was difficult because of problems with his kidneys and blood disorders. Therefore, they had to take into serious consideration where to take the stem cells from his body.
We took the stem cells from a peripheral sample because it is the safest way for patients with liver cirrhosis or in middle age. So we then extract the stem cells from the bone marrow and keep it as a peripheral sample for 5 days. On the 5th day, we'll then take the stem cells and transplant them into the patient's hepatic artery.
Studies show that the success rate using stem cells transplantation treatment for liver cirrhosis is 80% worldwide. Mai Thanh Hai, one of the first 6 patients being treated in Vietnam that have opened up the chance for other patients suffering from long-term liver damage.
Now, according to the latest data released by the website internetworldstats.com, Vietnam ranked the 17th in terms of the number of internet users worldwide. Unsurprisingly, first place went to China with 674 million users, followed by India and the US. Vietnam has seen great internet development in recent years, and this is not the first time it has been on the list. Thanks to a great variety of services for many types of users, the number of internet users in Vietnam has risen from just 200,000 in 2000 to 45 million this year. Now, our music lovers across the country will have a lot of exciting events to look forward to this month, as many well-known artists, including Tommy Emmanuel, Kenny G, and Bond, will tour Vietnam this October. Now, Tommy Emmanuel is supposed to be one of the best acoustic guitarists in the world. As part of his Asia tour, Emmanuel will host a guitar night in Hanoi in October the 21st, which will be held at Hanoi Youth Theater. Award-winning saxophonist Kenny G will perform in Hanoi as part of his Asia tour on October the 30th. His pieces such as Going Home, Forever in Love, Havana, and many more will no doubt charm local audiences. Kenny G will play pieces from his latest album, Brazilian Nights, launched in February. And string quartet Bond will offer a 90 minutes performance at Monsoon Festival on October the 11th. Bond were manufactured in 2000 by music producer Mike Batt, and they specialize in classical crossover and synth pop music. With 4 members from the UK and Australia, Bond are the biggest selling string quartet of all time, with more than 4 million albums sold. And coming up next, as always, is the latest weather forecast for today. And that concludes VTV News at this hour. Check out vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for repeats of any of our bulletins. I'm Laneng, and we have more coverage on the 6 p.m. bulletin. See you back soon.